The Badgers are going to need John Blackwell, and I kind of think he's going to deliver just fine.
You are Locked On Badgers, your daily podcast on the Wisconsin Badgers. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What is going on, Badger fans? Welcome to Locked On Badgers, your team every single day, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, the #1 sports podcast network. And thank you for being here to help create that. Thank you for being an everydayer. Thank you for being the amazing community of Badger fans that you are. Today's episode, let's talk a little bit about John Blackwell and the John Blackwell discussion. What were some of the frustrations, some of the criticisms, why I think it's getting overblown, and why I think it's going to be probably just fine. I think we all need to take a bit of a step back from the ledge. You're seeing, certainly we talked about it on the reaction show. Blackwell had 7 points, and Rajiv and I kind of went back and forth, and Rajiv was almost to the point where he said, you might need to sit him. And I've had other people message me and say, you got to sit Blackwell for a little bit. The effort's not there. I would urge caution on that. I think people are getting a little, and everyone can think whatever they want to think. I'm always careful with just my take. I'm not saying anyone else is wrong, but I'm going to tell you where I'm at. I think he's in just a little bit of a funk, and he doesn't get out of that funk if you stop playing him. You got to dance with who brought you here. And John Blackwell has been one of the horses on this team. I also think at times it's easy. 3 of his last 4 games, he hasn't shot the ball great. Okay. On the season, he's giving you 18, 5, and 3. There are not many guys in college basketball that are giving you 18, 5, and 3, 18.3, 4.9, and 2.4 assists on the season, shooting 37% from 3. Those big wins we talk about, and we talk about them a lot because they're an indicator of what the ceiling of this team is. Illinois, Michigan State, Michigan. Blackwell gave you 24 against Illinois, 24 against at Michigan State, 26 on the road against Michigan. I think people are getting a little too creature of the moment here and ignoring the bigger picture where Blackwell, even if he hasn't been quite as good in some spots this year as we had hoped, is still a tremendously valuable and important part of this team. And I don't think this team is better if you take him out of the lineup, if you bench him for a little, anything like that. I don't think there's an answer on the bench for it. And I think the only way this team goes anywhere in March is if Blackwell plays through this funk and gets out of it a little bit. And even then, I would call it a mini funk, like a bit of a mini funk where shots in the paint, that is the one spot where from last year, he is shooting significantly worse inside the arc. He shot, I didn't write it down. Oh, I did, 54% inside the arc last year. He's down to 43% this year. I think he's part of that is he's a bit in his funk. He's a bit in his head. That's a good comment here from Badger Fanatic. Let's also remember he's still averaging 19 on 38% from 3. So this guy isn't falling quite yet. Yeah, that's exactly it. That's exactly it. And maybe you said it even better than I was trying to say it. There's still a very significant floor with John Blackwell on the court that I think we're losing sight of a little bit. And I'm telling you right now, the way teams guard him opens up shots for Braeden Carrington. It opens up shots for Rhodey and Winter. The attention he draws is still pretty significant. Now, I think you've gotten to the point of the season where the best perimeter defender is guarding Nick Boyd. The best perimeter defender is trying to keep him out of the paint. But Blackwell is still a very significant part of opposing teams' defensive game plans. And if he's not there, either because you think he's in a funk and you want to sit him or anything like that, I think it dramatically impacts what is going on all around him on the rest of the court. Do I think at times is his offensive struggle, I'm not even going to say that. Do I think at times some of if he's having a bad day shooting, does that slip into his defense? I do. I think that's fair. I do think at times if he's having a rough offensive game, I think that does slip into his defense at times. And that's not ideal. And that's got to get better. But ultimately, if this team has any run in them, if this team has any March through March, if this team has any journey through March of any significance, it's going to need the version of John Blackwell that we've seen for a good part of the season. That's the other part of this. I feel like we've overanalyzed some of his bad games, and we've kind of forgotten that we don't win those Minnesota games without him. We don't win any of those 3 big games without him. He is again, going to finish the season averaging 18 to 20 points a game. That's pretty darn good. The Badgers are only one of 5 teams. I got this from a buddy of mine today who works at ESPN. One of 5 teams in the country with 2 players averaging at least 8, or in the Big Ten. Hold on, let me pull this up because I don't want to butcher this stat. Wisconsin is one of 5 teams in the season with multiple 18-point per game scores this season. 1 of 5, and Blackwell's a part of that. It's not easy to score 18 points per game. It's not easy to shoot 37% from 3. He's also getting into the paint, getting some free throws, averaging, I think, 5 per game. I would just caution, don't look the gift horse in the mouth. Don't take for granted getting 18 and 5 because not everything else is perfect. That's what I would say, I guess. Landon Thies, good. Landon Thies is a good dude. When you take away the 2015 championship run to put Tanjay on this team, wait, would you take away the 2000? Oh, I see. Landon says, would you take away the 2015 championship run to put Tanjay on this team and see what happens in the tournament? I wouldn't. That 15 run was magical. I wouldn't take. You could offer me, would you remove global pollution if it meant taking away the 2015 run? And I'd have to think about it. I'm sure I would, because the betterment of 7-8 billion people is probably worth it. But I would have to think about that. Those 14, 15 teams are special to me. Those are campfire teams. And if you listened to this show for a while, campfire teams, campfire moments, it's those moments where 20 years from now when I'm on the beach by a campfire and I'm, talking about the good old days to a younger generation, I'm going to talk about the 14, 15 Badgers. Those are campfire teams. It would take a lot for me to give those up. But would I love to see John Tanjay for 2 years in Madison and on this team? Absolutely. Absolutely. On Blackwell, going back to it, I think you just got to let him play out of this little mini funk. You have to, because if this team, again, is going to go on a run, it's going to be because Blackwell, Winter, and Boyd are playing really well, and Carrington is shooting the lights out. There's not another path. You don't have someone else on the bench. If you don't think Blackwell is the guy and you think maybe you got to pull back those reins a little bit, you're not going to give more minutes to Andrew Rohde right now. He's not playing well enough. And you're already giving Carrington about 30. I think you're squeezing all the juice you can from the Braeden Carrington tree. I think you're squeezing everything out of that. I don't think you can ask for more. So it comes down to you just got to play Blackwell. It's like in baseball. If you have a number 2 starter and he's struggling through a couple games to find his command, you don't pull him and put him into the bench. You let him pitch through it. And he's a junior. I think he's earned that for the most part. I think you got to let him pitch through it. And I'll tell you this, what I would love to see John Blackwell do is tap into the rage tree a little bit, like really defensively lock in. And I think the only thing here that frustrates me, or I think the thing with John Blackwell right now that frustrates me maybe the most, it's not some of the offensive struggles. He's better than this on defense, and I know he is. And I think the offensive stuff maybe bleeds into it. But last year, if you go look at what he did on defense last year, he held opponents to 0.825 points per possession, which was a good mark. That was 67th percentile in the country, 0.825 points per possession. That means every time someone was trying to score on him, he held them to, over the course of the season, 0.825 points per possession. You want to guess what the number is up to this year? 1.020. That's 17th percentile in the country. That's a significant drop from where he was last year. Now, I will say this team is smaller, and because of that, it's forced Blackwell, Rohde, and some of the other guys into matchups against bigger players. And Blackwell has been in more post-up defensive situations this year because of that. That's hurt his numbers. But on the perimeter, he's at times better than what he's shown. That's the one thing with Blackwell. If he can tap into the rage tree defensively, get a little more to where he was last year, I don't think the offense is an issue. And I think people are stressing out about it a little too much. Do I wish he would finish off 2 feet in the paint a little more? Yeah, I do. 100%. But then I start to realize in my head, I think we're nitpicking a little bit. He's giving you 18 a game over the course of a Big Ten season. He finishes a little better in the paint. We're talking about a 23-point score, 24 points per game. Is that what we need to be happy offensively with John Blackwell? You have to score 24 points a game for us to be satisfied. He's giving you 18 on 37% shooting. I think that's good. Just a little more defensively, play out of this funk. Again, and I'm not perfect on this either. I've been critical of John Blackwell. I'm not going to sit here and pretend like I haven't been critical. But I think we've all gotten a little over our skis with it, I guess is my point. He's averaging 18 a game, 5 boards. I think you just got to let him play out of it. All right, we're going to take a second here. We got comments I want to get to. Plus, I have a couple questions from the YouTube chat that I want to get into. That's coming up next on Locked On Badgers. It's kind of an impromptu pop-up live show. But first, let me tell you about our incredible friends of the show over at Indeed. Listen, it can be hard to hire. You know, when I got a different job offer once at a different company a long time ago, my company was like, "That's awesome for you." I was making more money in this new job, so they said, "All right, we're gonna have to find a new person for you." And the first person they brought in was like an axe murderer. I'm not kidding you. He was like a psychopath. And I remember specifically showing this guy around, and he was talking about he was a psychopath. And my boss came back to me and said, "Ryan, we cannot let you go because that guy's crazy. We will give you a raise to keep you here." You know, maybe if they'd used Indeed, they wouldn't have had a psychopath axe murderer walk through the door. Indeed helps you find the right people, right? The right qualifications, the right location, the right experience. Indeed sponsored jobs helps you cut through all the mess to find the right people to interview for your job. Spend less time searching, more time actually interviewing candidates that check all the boxes you need with Indeed sponsored jobs. When you need the right person to cut through the chaos, that is the job for Indeed sponsored jobs. And companies like yours have made 27 hires on Indeed since I've been talking to you on this ad read, according to Indeed data worldwide. Just go to Indeed.com/podcast right now. Support our show by saying you heard about Indeed on this podcast. Indeed.com/podcast. Terms and conditions do apply. Need to hire as a job for Indeed sponsored jobs. Today's episode also brought to you by our great friends over at Mazda, moving the game forward. I keep going back to it, man. I am just blown away by the Braeden Carrington effort. He is absolutely the Mazda moving the game forward moment. You talk about campfire moments. 9 threes? What are we talking about? That's like NBA Jam. He's on fire for the older generation. The younger folks probably don't get that. He was incredible. And just like every single highlight makes the reel, it's those moments behind the highlight that gets you there, that makes it happen. Highlights make the reel. What it takes to get there makes it count. There's more to a Mazda because there's more to you. Mazda, move and be moved. Today's episode also brought to you by our great friends over at FanDuel. If you ever wanted to experience the NBA Finals live and in person, and I'm a Suns fan, if they ever get back there, I will so do this. But I don't know if they'll ever be back in my lifetime. Maybe that's my kid's life. Maybe I'll come back and haunt him if they do, and we'll live vicariously through him. FanDuel's giving you the chance to turn that dream into a reality with the NBA sweepstakes. Here's how it works. Use your profit boost on any NBA future, and you'll automatically be entered into a shot to win an NBA Finals trip for 2. That's right. Flights, tickets, the whole experience. If you're looking at the board, thinking about what team could make that deep run, this is the perfect time to lock it in. Plus, I love futures this time of the year. It's a great time to add a little extra juice to that part of the season. It's stretching maybe a bit. FanDuel helps spice it up. Visit FanDuel.com to get started. Use your profit boost on an NBA future and get entered for your chance to win a trip to the NBA Finals. Play your game with FanDuel, the official sports betting partner of the NBA. All right, let's jump back into this. And always appreciate everybody here, like everybody in the community listening now, commenting in the Discord and YouTube comments. I appreciate y'all so much. And I got some comments and questions from you guys. Charles Miller, speaking of John Blackwell, says, totally agree. He isn't going to get out of this funk by sitting him. Let's see. Tim Palm, first, as a former coach of youth sports, Blackwell not pouring in points in a Badgers blowout is a good sign for me. So Tim had a good point. Tim went on to say, in a game where maybe we didn't need Blackwell, him having maybe the ability to step aside and let other people carry the load is a good thing for his perspective. I could definitely hear that. Liam G, play Carrington 30-plus minutes. There is zero reason Rhodey should be playing 10 more minutes per game. I think Carrington is at the point where you got to give him 30. I think he had 29 last game against Washington. That feels right to me. 29, 31. I think that's about all the juice you're probably going to squeeze out of Braeden Carrington. Rhodey, to me, I'm higher on Rhodey than a lot of people. I've been higher on him since the beginning of the season, and even then, I've been disappointed a little bit in what we've gotten. But I will say, Rhodey gives you something as a ball handler and a passer that I think really helps this team when he's on the court. It helps move the floor. It creates another ball handler that can make quick decisions. He's a very good passer. He still represents the ability to hit shots, even though he hasn't shown it consistently this year. I like the general IQ, but man, there are some moments where he picks up some fouls that just drives me nuts. There's a couple shots. I mean, last game he airballed like a 4-footer. But I still think the IQ, the ball handling, and the passing play up. I think he is a force multiplier to some degree. Where he's on the court, it makes other people around him a little better. So I think Rhodey gives you more than people maybe think, but I'm with you. I think Carrington needs to get 30-plus minutes. Lino, this is what we see over and over again. Super athletic long forwards. Both of Oregon's 6'9" forwards were 97 rated out of high school, one committed to Duke. I had several people send me something like this where some version of we can't compete against athletes. Wisconsin gets swallowed by athletes. Wisconsin needs more athletes. I would say yes and no. To be completely honest on this point, I do think this team, and I said it in the offseason, this isn't anything new. I said it in the offseason. I wish they would have found a way to get an athletic wing. I think this team is missing an athletic wing. Somebody who can chase down long rebounds, who can switch 1 through 4, who can hang with athletic forwards, who can get out in transition. A 6'7" bouncy wing. I think this team needs one of those. I do. I think that would help the defense tremendously as a point of attack defender. And maybe he's not a great shooter because there's not 6'7" athletic wings that are great shooters that stay in college for more than a year. Those guys go to the league. But I would sacrifice shooting to get a 6'7" athlete. I think this team could use it. That being said, this team beat Michigan State, who has one of the big athletes in college basketball. This team beat Michigan, who is very athletic. This team beat Illinois, who has a ton of length and athleticism and skill. This team can beat athletic teams. They can. I also think some of the athletes on this team are underrated. I think Nick Boyd is a above average athletic point guard. I think Nolan Winter is a very athletic 5. That fast break dunk attempt notwithstanding, that's a very athletic 5. So I think this team is a little more athletic than people give it credit for. I do think they are missing a wing athlete. And I do think they've proven they can beat athletic teams when they hit shots this year. I think it just comes down to hitting shots and executing. And if they do that, their skill can negate athleticism, in my opinion. Let's see. T-Temp says, I'm 100% wrong. I love people telling me I'm 100% wrong. I love it. And I mean that honestly. I love discussion points and disagreements. Every good team, I'm 100% wrong in the Big Ten tourney. And again, my take on the Big Ten tourney is I don't really care about it. And I would almost prefer players just rest. That's my take on it. Every good team and coach plays to win games. This team will not win the Big Ten regular season. That's true. A long shot at a natty this year. Also true. So a Big Ten tourney title is their best chance to get some hardware. Yeah, but I just don't care about that hardware. It's like, to me, and T-Temp, it's a fair point. And I'm not telling you not to care about it. I'm not telling you that other people don't. What I am going to tell you is, to me, that's like getting hardware in the NIT. Or it's like getting hardware from winning the Alamo Bowl or the Napa Auto Parts Bowl or the Motor City Bowl. Like, it's hardware, but I don't really care about that hardware. I don't care about the Big Ten tournament. I think it's kind of shambolic. I think it's set up just to make money. I don't think generally it even really helps you in the seedings unless you desperately need a couple wins. And I think the downside is it wears you down because the Big Ten is a physical friggin' league. People beat the crap out of each other in the Big Ten, and suddenly you're in the tournament with a bunch of teams that are desperate for wins because they're on the bubble. They're going to beat the crap out of you. I would just rather have my guys be fresh. And I know a lot of people disagree with that, and that's totally fair. That's just my take. I care a ton about the regular season, and I care a ton about March. I just don't really care about the middle part. I don't. I'm like the opposite Oreo, where in Oreos I only care about the middle part. For basketball, I just care about the beginning and the end. Family Man Ty, I did a portal rating where I had Klesmond as the number 3 Greg Gard portal ahead of AJ Storr. And Family Man Ty disagrees. He says, come on, Ryan, we all know Storr's number 3. Here, just for clarity, I ranked it based on overall impact on the program, and Klesmond started 3 years. He gave you 3 years of solid starting number 2, or solid starting 2 guard. 30 minutes a game over the course of 3 years. That's over 100 starts of solid defense, generally good shooting, and a ton of toughness and culture. To me, his contribution over 3 years outweighed Storr's over a year. That's not me saying his upside was what Storr's was, or he was a more talented player. Although I will say I'm also lower on AJ Storr than a lot of people. I'm just going to say, I thought the defense was a train wreck. I thought he was a low efficiency scorer. I thought he checked out at the end. It is what it is. He had tremendous moments, and he was tremendously talented. I'm not trying to knock the kid, but I have Klesmond ahead of him. It is what it is. Also wanted to throw this up here. St. Dom says, as an Illinois fan, I'm still mad we lost to frickin' Wisconsin. Wisconsin is not a good basketball team. I don't care what anyone says. We beat you. I don't know. All right, let's get some other comments in here. Again, to wrap up the show. Let's see. Dominique says, I don't think Tanjay changes this team too much. I think he would supercharge the offense, but where would he play? I guess you wouldn't have Rhodey. Yeah, I don't know. It'd be interesting. Let's keep going here. Bo says, are you ready for some football? I am. Bo, I'm always ready for football. You know that. Mark says those 14, 15 teams were magical. Wouldn't trade them for anything. I agree. I would have to have like ending world hunger and poverty on the table to trade out those 14, 15 teams and the experience of watching the Badgers get to the Final Four back-to-back years. It was incredible. As a sports fan, that was the pinnacle for me. That was the absolute pinnacle for me. Badger Fanatic, I need more offense from Rhodey. He's an awesome defender, but as a starter, his numbers just don't jump off the page. Yeah, man, 100% agree. I think you need more offense. And honestly, I don't think he's an awesome defender. I could be wrong. I think he's a pretty good team defender generally. I expected him to be a little better man-to-man principles coming from Virginia and as a veteran guy. I think he needs to be better as an individual defender too. Steve, let's hope JB turns it around. He doesn't like it when he's not the center of attention. Yeah, I don't know if that's the case. I mean, he's had some really big games this year, and it feels like maybe we're zooming in a little too much on the last couple. He's had some big-time games this year, and I don't know. I think we generally maybe made more of this than there is. Just my opinion. Why even try Bortendo? Don't change the starters. It's awesome to have instant offense off the bench. Totally good with this. Although I wouldn't hate to see a starting lineup with Braeden Carrington right now and have Rhodey off the bench. And that might kickstart Rhodey a little bit. And honestly, BC playing with the starters might open it up for them a little bit more as well. So I wouldn't hate that change. I'm not gonna touch the Rapp thing. It feels like Rapp is really comfortable coming off the bench now. He's a little younger, whereas BC is more of a veteran guy. I think he'd be a little more versatile, a little more adaptable to a new role, but I'm also not stressing it. I'm totally good with where they're at. Just get Rapp and Carrington their 30-ish minutes, 25 to 30-ish minutes, and we're good. I also think that's your closing lineup, which I think is more important. I think your closing lineup is Boyd, Blackwell, Carrington, Rapp, and Winter probably. Again, I'm higher on Rhodey than a lot of people, but I don't know how you would keep Carrington out of that closing lineup. Steve, Blackwell's defense is terrible. It's not been good. And that's the one thing where I think that's a fair criticism. It's a fair criticism too, because he's shown he's better. You just have to look back to last year or 2 years ago. He's a better defender than what he's shown at times this year. I will say having a guard up a little bit when teams go big and we don't have size has hurt him. Analytically, it's just hurt him a little bit. He's given up like 1.4 points per possession in the post, which is insane. But I think that's a metric and a function of him having to guard bigger players. That's not really fair to him, and that has driven down his metrics. But that being said, on the perimeter, he can be better than he has been. Because we've seen it. I mean, we've seen him be better than he has been. You know, last year he was in the 60th percentile defending spot-up shooters, where situations where he's kind of a one-on-one spot. This year he's in the 20-something percentile spot-up shooters. So he can be better because he has been better. Graham, do you question the effort from Blackwell? I think poor offense bleeds into his overall effort at times. Not as much as I think other people think, though. Again, there's a stretch of he had 7 points against Washington. Prior to that, he had double digits 14 straight games. And 7 of those, he had 20 plus. So there's still a pretty long track record this year of Blackwell giving you double-digit points, 5-6 rebounds. I think the last couple games, it's been a struggle for him, though. Really the last 4 games. And we need him to snap out of that. We need him to snap out of that funk big time. I'm just looking through the other comments here. See if there's anything we haven't really hit on. White Marlin, Rapp will be an X factor in March. I could definitely see that. His ability to the thing with Rapp, man, his ability to shoot, but also now start to put the ball in the deck, pump fake some people. It's interesting. He's got layers to his offense. I'm excited to see his growth. Yeah, Mark, they could use a guy like Khalil Iverson on the wing. 100% agree. There's just certain things athletic people do. Intuitively, they just find the ball a little bit easier on rebounds. You know, they can close out a little. I mean, all this, obviously, right? You need, I think, a priority this offseason is to upgrade the athleticism a little bit. And that would have been Xavier Amos. If Amos would have come back or could have come back. And, maybe that means you don't get Rhodey, or maybe that means you don't get Rapp. These are tough decisions, but he gave you a level of athleticism that this team could definitely use. Bo says Gard only cares about 3-point shooting. I think it's much more of a priority now. I'm going to be fascinated this offseason. It's probably an offseason discussion, but I'm going to be fascinated if they go back and try to find a big five. MVG, the great MVG says, great point there. The Big Ten tournament is worth something. Again, to each their own. I'm not going to tell anybody they're wrong for valuing it. And listen, I'm going to be into it. Every Badger game, I'm never going to cheer for the Badgers to lose. That is not something that in the fiber of my being can happen. But I'm just not going to be overly heartbroken if they do lose and get some more rest. Sammy says, you got to give JB some slack. He's been an unexpected star for a 3-star recruit who has had to adjust his game every season since his freshman year. He's being asked to lead a team with new pieces every year. That's actually a really good point that I don't think we've talked about, Sammy. That's a really good point. You look at Blackwell's first year, he was kind of a 3-and-D guy. His next year, he was playing point guard. This year, they're like, just go play 2. Boyd will come in. That is a big adjustment year to year over 3 years. And for the most part, he's handled it pretty well. That's a really good point. And honestly, one that I hadn't even really talked about. And then Sammy also says Jackson Ball is going to be a star. Let's go. I actually really like Jackson Ball. I think he has unique upside. Dominique says Store is number 3, 100%. He is another person that is on the Store is higher than Max Klesman bandwagon. Totally fair. Again, I would disagree, but I can understand the argument for him. Okay, well, let's wrap it up there on Wisconsin. Appreciate all of you so much. Thank you for tuning in to Locked On Badgers. Tomorrow coming up, we have Keyshawn Tabado's high school coach breaking down his speed, the 40 time he ran at a Georgia camp to earn a Georgia offer. Tuesday, we have, Tuesday, we have Ryan Hopkins, offensive coordinator from Mater Dei. What's it like to coach at Mater Dei? And then what kind of tool set does Colton Joseph, what kind of tool set does Ryan Hopkins have? On Wednesday, we have Brady Beckenhuis, high school offensive line coach. Why there's a lot of untapped upside with Beckenhuis. Thursday, we'll have the reaction to the basketball game. Friday, we're going to have Nick Osen. So in a loaded week of shows on Locked On Badgers. Really do appreciate every single one of you on Wisconsin. And we will definitely talk tomorrow.